Stories to lift each other, give hope to push us further, and encourage one another. Behind the scenes beauty.
Eboni K Williams is not afraid to take up space in all her blackness, which is the theme of her new book, Bet on Black, the good news on being black in America today. Eboni has used all her gifts in the capacity of public defender, commentator, and host on Fox News to co-host on State of the Culture on Revolt. She became the first black housewife in the New York franchise history on Bravo. And her insightful perspective has had her make guest co-hosting appearances on The Breakfast Club, as well as ABC's The View. And she still hasn't slowed down with her podcast in its second season, Holding Court with Eboni K Williams, as well as a host on The Griot, and her newest endeavor, Equal Justice with Eboni K Williams. Eboni proves that you can never lose if you always bet on black. Hello, you're watching another episode of Behind the Scenes Beauty. I am your host, Derek Monroe, and today I have with me, she's a jack of all trades. She's a lawyer. She's an author. She has her own podcast, Holding Court with Eboni K Williams. She has a judge show, Equal Justice with Eboni K Williams. I mean, she's been a real housewife of New York, and she's even been in my home territory over at The View. She's none other than Eboni K Williams.
Hey, y'all. Hey, Derek. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for coming. I'm super excited. I really have gotten really excited. I read your book.
Which I was supposed to bring, not Derek's fault. Bet on Black.
Because normally we have it sitting right here, Bet on Black.
The good news about being black in America today.
That's right.
Yeah.
So, and I found it very interesting. And so I want to talk about that.
Yes.
And then we know, not recently, you've been in the media.
Me?
You.
Okay. I know what you're talking about.
You've been in the media just a little bit.
Just a little
but
bit.
You know what? I think when people hear your story, people will better understand
the
context of where you come from and everything. And I think that's all it takes is people just to get a chance to know you.
And you know what, Derek, for me, it's like, even if they can appreciate the context or not, it's got the culture talking and thinking about these issues, right? Whether it's, skill set, maximum ability, what does average really mean, and how are we really showing up in that reality?
Okay.
So we'll see.
All right. So tell us a little bit about yourself. I know a lot about you. I know you're from Charlotte, North Carolina, and I know that you come from a single mother home.
I do, yeah. So I was raised in the South, and I remember the first time we met, I think on the set of The View, and there's something very loving and familial about that Southern accent, and I love that you still have your accent. And when you pay attention, you can still hear it in my voice too, and I never want to change that. I remember when I first came to New York, Derek, a lot of New York native girls were like, ugh, you need to get rid of that. Like, no, bitch, you keep it pushing, because that's my swag. That's our essence. That's our special sauce.
Right.
So, really proud daughter of being raised in the South. Born, actually, little known fact, in southeast rural Louisiana.
Okay.
So the country, a meat, and then was raised in Charlotte, moved at 5. And my mom, Gloria, single black woman, raised me. Proud first-generation college graduate I am. Was able to go to UNC Chapel Hill at 16. I'm a big nerd. That's one thing people should definitely know about me, unapologetically so. I think my mother raised me, Derek, because she was a black woman in the South, and a relatively young black woman. My mother is only 62 now, so that's young. But she didn't even go to school with white people until her senior year of high school, 1977. So she very much still grew up in a Jim Crow era of segregation and disrespect and danger, really, for black people. And my grandfather, for instance, one of the reasons why I'm not really all for, I believe in the Second Amendment right to bear arms to defend yourself. I don't believe in 37 magazines, because what the hell you need that for? But I know my grandfather, Kerry James Williams, never went anywhere without his rifle in the back of his truck, because as a black man in Louisiana, you have to be prepared to protect yourself and your family. And my mother raised me with that same protective posture. And her thing was excellence. She went to scripture even on it, because I think there's a scripture, Derek, that talks about when you do anything, do it as if you're doing it for God.
Unto the Lord.
That's it.
Do unto
Come
God.
on, Pastor.
Yeah? Okay, listen.
Come on, Pastor. And I took that literally growing up, and I still take it literally. So when you hear me talking about, pushing back on displays of mediocrity, or like, are we really showing up in our maximum capacity? Are we really elevating ourselves as far as the Creator has gifted us to go? It's really coming from a spiritual, moral place for me, not a place of judgment or social elitism. Like, because who is man, right?
Got you.
It's really what are the spiritual gifts that God has given you, and are you showing favor back to Him by maximizing that gift?
Got you. I wanted to ask you a question,
Yeah.
because reading your book, your mother made sure that you had all these African American books so that you could study
Yes.
history even before you took it in your college courses.
Yep.
So where did that come from for her? Like, what
Yeah.
pushed
What
her to make
inspired
sure
her?
I'm gonna educate my daughter?
A few things. Again, my mother being very, very intelligent, despite not having the formal education of a college degree. She's just one of those. And to this day, we've been in some rooms. We're blessed and highly favored, right? And we know some of the biggest power players in the world and in this industry. But my mother remains one of the most intelligent human beings I've ever encountered, truly. And she knew enough to know, Derek, that she knew the narratives that she had been passed on as a young Black girl in the South and a young Black girl in America, and a grown woman, at some point. And those narratives were the following: Black girls are fast, y'all are lazy, y'all are violent. It's a reason why Black girls are suspended in school today, almost 6 times the rate of their white girl counterparts. So if those are the messaging points that America tells young Black girls that they are, hypersexual, have attitudes, are angry, all these things. My mother knew that that is not a story that she wanted me telling myself. And she knew that if she left it up to public school systems or any school system or any other medium, I was going to internalize that messaging. The good brother James Baldwin says that he spent most of his adult life throwing up what the world had told him about himself, so that he could really process who he really was. Well, my mom didn't want me to spend a lot of time throwing stuff up, Derek. So that's why at 6 and 7, she's putting the autobiography of Malcolm X in front of me. She's putting the narratives of Frederick Douglass in front of me. She's putting Toni Morrison's The Bluest Eye in front of me, so that I can have an actualized understanding of the brilliance and the beauty that it is to be Black.
Okay, so tell me, so when you were growing up, you automatically knew you wanted to do law.
Yeah, well, I talked a lot then, just like I talk a lot now. And so I think also I had a lot of confidence in the classroom, right?
Okay.
Like, so back to Gloria, the gift that keeps on giving when it comes to the, I think like the identity formation of a young Black kid, I couldn't have had a better parent. Now, there were some things that my mother, had some, we'll call them opportunity growth moments. But there were some things that she did very well. And one of those things was like, you were in that classroom with as much ability and access as any other kid, including the white kids and including the white male kids. So she was like, I expect you to sit at the front of the class. She dressed me a certain way. I talk about in the book how I had a uniform. What was the uniform? They were Birkenstocks. They were khaki duckhead shorts, if you know, you know, and like these little Ralph Lauren polos. And that was it, in like 50,000 colors. So I had my uniform on, and I was sitting in the front of the class, and I was unafraid, Derek, to raise my hand. I was a very precocious kid. So let me question this. Let me push back on that. Well, wait, I don't understand this. And I think sometimes when you talk about especially young Black kids in classrooms all across America, we can shrink. We can feel as if we are not deserving or designed to take up that space. And one thing I never had a problem with, baby, was sitting at the table.
Right.
And taking up the space. So what y'all see on The View, God bless, what you see on Housewives, what you see on The Griot, is something that started as a kid, something that just said, I believe my voice is worthy. And I believe I don't have all the answers, but I'm very curious. And that was a big part of why I knew law was going to be the trajectory for me. Because people would tell me, they would say, ooh, child, she talk a lot, child. She's real opinionated. She thinks something about everything. She should be a good lawyer. And so that's where that kind of came from.
Okay. I love how your mom went and made sure you got into the gifted classes.
Yeah.
And it's just more of a testament of how, especially for Black kids, how the parents have to fight for their kids' education to make sure that they're seen and that they're heard. I thought that was really...
And you think, we would hope that wouldn't have to be the case, right? We would hope that, you know, you send your kid off to school and those things take care of themselves, but they don't. And we see this in other aspects of life, right, Derek? Like even with healthcare, you know, you hear the term healthcare advocate. Is I believe every child, but especially the young Black kids in America, they each need a call of Gloria. They need an educational advocate. And I know for me, that made all the difference.
Yes. Okay, so you were a public defender,
Yes,
and all those good things. And so then you decide you also want to be a journalist as well.
yeah.
So where did that part come in?
Well, again, my big mouth, right? So the thing about the law, which I love, and I still use I get this question a lot, Derek, you know, like, you went to law school for nothing? Bitch, where? Like, I use my legal ease and mind every day on holding court, on Judge Eboni, and of course, when I do my, you know, guest spots on The View and things. So it's always at work. But the thing about practicing the law is it can move very slowly. You know, it's one case at a time, and it's a lot of bureaucracy. If you've ever been to court, even for a traffic ticket, you know what I'm talking about, right? Everything is a continuance. Oh, this lawyer not here. Oh, the judge is sick. I'm really like a let's get to the white meat type of personality. I want to get it done. And so when I realized how slow the law can move, I realized, I mean, look at what we're talking about right now. What's your boy in Atlanta? Young Thug. They haven't even set a jury for that case. It's been going on for 5 months.
Right.
So that's a good example of how slow justice can move in America. So I said, if I still want to talk about, Derek, these themes of freedom, justice, equality, equity, whether it's deferred prosecution or how to know that you have a right to have a judge hear your case. You can waive a jury trial. And sometimes, you know, I had this conversation with Remy Ma, right, where she's like, damn, sometimes I wish I just would have took my shit to the judge. Right. You know, and sometimes people don't know that, right? So that's when I said, what would it look like if I marry my legal training and the gift I have around knowing the law better than most, and I take that to a microphone, and I take that to a megaphone, and I take that to a national broadcast platform, whether it be TV, radio, or digital. I really felt like I could change lives, and I think that's what we do on Holding Court every week with Dustin Ross, and now we're about to do it with Equal Justice with Judge Eboni. Okay.
So I also want to talk about, you started out at CBS.
Woo, child. Yes, those were some dark days.
I really want to get to your lifetime at Fox.
I know you do. Let's get to it.
How in the world were you making it at Fox News?
Well, listen, you read the book, Derek. It wasn't the brightest of days.
Yeah.
Now, I want to really kind of paint a 360 picture here. It wasn't all doom and gloom. The reality is, despite what we clearly know about Fox News, and I've never been shy about saying it, we know that the network was founded by Roger Ailes to otherize, you know, anything that wasn't white, heterosexual, and male. Basically, and bought into a male patriarchy. So that goes for those, when people talk about the, was it like the 60% of white women that voted for Trump? Those hoes. So no, I'm just playing.
No, I love it.
It's just joking. But those white women, right? So we know that's what the network was designed to do, and it has done it well and continues to do it well. And yet, what audience, I'm thinking, when I decided to venture over there, more needs a corrective narrative of who Black people actually are. Because what we know Fox does and continues to do to this day, Fox News is going to talk about Black folks. They're going to talk. We used to see it with, you know, O'Reilly's show, always talking about rappers and Beyonce, and oh my God, it's the end of the world.
Factor tip of the day, the Time 100 most influential people. On the cover, singer Beyonce, who I recently criticized for putting out a video that may have a negative effect on young girls.
That Black people and Black identity and Black life in America is going to often be the conversation at Fox News, whether we like it or not, and whether we participate or not. So I saw an opportunity. And I'm not saying I'm the first, because some of y'all's favorites started their careers at Fox News. And if you use the Google, you'll see who I'm talking about. But I also saw an opportunity during my tenure to kind of pick up that mantle and do that very, very important work. It could even be life-saving work when you start talking about jurors, right? So to give you a really good example, my very first hit on Fox News was on the O'Reilly Factor, Derek, and it was in the wake of George Zimmerman's acquittal. And I went on and, you know, I crushed it, and it was the beginning of what became a long-term relationship that was really successful for me in Fox until it wasn't, hence the Trump docket.
Mr. President, your initial remarks were cowardly and dangerous, and they indeed warranted a second statement. Here's why. Your presidential campaign slogan, "Make America Great Again," Well, it rose many questions for many. Were Jews, blacks, gays, and Hispanics included in the return of America to her great glory years, or would some of us be left out? Well, I was legitimately unsure, but absent more conclusive evidence, I was willing to give you the benefit of the doubt. I can no longer do that, Mr. President. No more benefit, all doubt. In a moment where you could have been crystal clear where you stand on the issue of inclusion, standing up against white supremacy and domestic terrorism, you very intentionally chose to be ambiguous and to equivocate. All sides, Mr. President? Please. President Trump, I do not know your heart, but what I do know for sure is that you've clearly done the math, and you've decided that your portion of the base that is absolutely racist is so significant, so valuable, that you hesitate, even in the face of blatant, flagrant hatred, to risk turning them off and thereby crippling your political stronghold. Do you remember when you said that your base would stick with you even if you shot someone on Fifth Avenue? Well, guess what? I think you're right. I think they will stick with you through anything. They will even stick with you while you calm their fears and deep-seated anger around their perceived depreciation of the intrinsic value of whiteness in this country. And let's be honest, that's what this is all really about. So while you personally might not be a racist, President Trump, what you are is all too happy to reap the benefits of their support, and you even tacitly encourage them with evasive, irresponsible statements. Instead, maybe try this. I don't know what cause or campaign promise you think you are fulfilling when you take to the streets and terrorize non-white Americans. But that is not what I meant when I said make America great again. And yes, I am talking to you, David Duke. You represent the very worst of America, and you do not represent me, the right, or conservatism. But I know. But what about Black Lives Matter? What about Obama? Well, guess what? Obama had a lot of missed opportunities to effectively lead a national dialogue around race in America, and his legacy will carry those shortcomings. But he's no longer in the Oval. This moment is on you, President Trump. This is your legacy in the making. Mr. President, I'm making a personal plea to you. You are actually uniquely positioned to forcefully call out evil, anti-American domestic terrorists, but we certainly cannot change what we fail to acknowledge. So I'm asking you to address their anger, address their misplaced fears. Let them know that this is America, land of opportunity, and there is indeed enough to go around. President Trump, they will listen to you, and they will follow your lead.
But, you know, as somebody who practiced law, what I know is jurors and their perceptions of who is human and who is not makes a difference. So part of the reason I argued on Fox that night that George Zimmerman was acquitted is because George Zimmerman is sitting in that courtroom and jurors are able to identify and humanize him. Trayvon Martin is dearly departed. This young man is dead. This young man is not here to be humanized. And so it's very important that somebody do the work, Derek, that many of us collectively, hands on deck, do the work of continuing to humanize Black Americans because Black lives depend on it. So that was really the catalyst that took me to Fox News. And there was a time where, you know, like I said, that was a very mutually beneficial relationship because I'm brilliant at what I do and I show up and I look the part and it all works until I earned enough currency. And I talk about this in the book. When I got more power at Fox, by the time I was co-hosting my own show at Fox and not just having to play second fiddle to O'Reilly or Hannity, so now it's the specialist with Eboni K Williams and company. Well, now I can tell you a little more like I really feel it, and that, you know, ran its course as we, you know, I predicted.
Yeah, I know you talk about in the book how you started to feel like you had the naysayers, the people that were talking about you and felt that you had turned on the Black community in a way, and then how you also fought depression at that time. And you also talk about going to therapy and how that helped, but what else sort of helped you in that moment? How do you get past all, like, especially in this day and time? Like, I always think to myself, and because I work around people, anybody that wants fame to me is crazy. Anybody that goes after being the spotlight is like you. When I read your book, I really see where
like I have a calling.
You were from the beginning. Where you are is where you were supposed to be.
Amen.
And so because of that, so I wonder, what did you do outside of therapy? Like, what was your thought process through that whole moment?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I want to be real candid. Medicine. No, for real. It's
True.
10 milligrams of Celexa every day that I still take to help manage my anxiety and my depression. And I think we have to talk about that, Derek, especially as Black community members. There is nothing wrong with praying, therapy, and if you need medical intervention. That's why we have it.
Yeah.
So in addition to my talk therapy sessions weekly, it was the Celexa. It was also, recognizing that I needed to get a little clearer about who I really was. Like you said, I had intention when I went in there, but you work at a cultural institution known as The View, and you've seen a lot of people come and a lot of people go, and seen some even come back. And what I know is that when you are in a particular space for long enough, you can lose sight of reality. That the world starts to get real small on you real fast. And so one of the things I did in that moment after the Trump docket, where I indicted the president around. It's so funny, I said that real easy, and now he's literally indicted twice. But anyway, I indicted him theoretically on the show around how he handled Charlottesville, and I thought that was a real, shitty move that he pulled of the two sides and all that, and that resulted in the death threats and ultimately the demise of my career there, which I had calculated. So as I say in the book, I knew that when I said what needed to be said, it was going to cost me my career at that network. And I had made my peace with that because it was never about the fame, to your point. It wasn't even about the paycheck. It was about the calling. So once I was challenged with having to compromise the calling to continue in the role, it was time for me to go.
Right.
And that was, part of my coming out of the depression was reconciling that, Derek, being really honest with myself. Like, okay, yeah, bitch, you thought you was gonna be the Black Megyn Kelly. Nah. Grieve that and now make the space for the abundance that you say you believe God has for you. And so that was what the process was like.
Okay. Yeah. So you left.
Yes.
And you went to Revolt.
Oh, yeah.
And
people thought I was crazy.
Why do people think you were crazy?
Well, because people had people only know what they know, right? So everybody's not, kicking it, with us at Melbuzz and really getting to know me as you've gotten to know me a bit, Derek. So all people knew was she's this Black girl who never has a hair out of place and, all this stuff on Fox News. The presumption was that she was probably conservative politically or Republican, contrary to popular belief. And she's a political, legal wonk, and that's all she is. So when you start talking about Revolt, the house that Puff built, and then specifically State of the Culture, so let's talk about that. Joe Budden, Remy Ma, walk around the metal detectors, Remy Ma,
right,
and Brandon Jinx from, Good Morehouse brother, but musical journalist. Where does Eboni K Williams fit into that damn puzzle?
Right.
But what they didn't know that, came to fruition, thank God, is I have an opinion on everything, including, music and pop culture and all that, and hip hop, of course. And I ultimately am a student of the culture. I am a student of the culture, literally. I have a bachelor's in Black Studies and Culture. And so I was really grateful, actually, Derek, that Revolt opportunity came to be, because it allowed for some of the very Black people that had skepticism around me and my morals and my values and my intention for the culture. They were able to see a much broader side of me and really deeper understand why it is that I do what I do, where I choose to do it.
Okay. And so you also later went on to be on Rhony, that, as you say, when I was listening to the audiobook, and you kept saying Rhony, I was like, oh, Real
Housewives of New York City, yeah.
You're a hoe, you're a hoe, you're a hoe.
The ladies of New York City are back. And this season,
He was my guy. He was never your guy.
it might be time for another round of
The
drama.
way this group fights is some white people shit.
So I was like, okay, yeah, so.
And they thought I was crazy for that too.
Okay, so first of all, we'll go into it, but first of all, what do you think about the fact that they have a cast with some Black women in it?
I love it. Yeah, I don't care, if they give me the credit for it or not. I'm gonna take the credit. That is my legacy, as I say in the book.
Right.
It is. That cast does not exist the way it will exist now, Derek, with Afro-Latina women, Black women, women of African direct descent. I think she's first generation, this beautiful Black queen. Jewish women. This diverse, biracial women brand, that is a direct result of the huge disruption that I brought to a 12-year exclusively white and a very particular kind of white show that forced the hand of the network and the production company to create something that looks like New York City, finally. And I'm very proud of that.
I have one question.
Yes, sir.
I was talking to the guy that did your makeup today, Morel.
Hey, Morel.
And I told him I was going to ask you this question because reading your book, you talk about how you had this admiration for Diane Carroll.
Oh, yes.
And how she showed up.
Okay.
And so...
I like where this is going.
So, I don't know
Let
if you
me
will.
sit up.
I don't know if you will. So I was saying, no.
Oh,
But
that
you
I was going to be the
talking
first
about-
black bitch on TV?
Right.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
then the thing about it is, so I felt like you spoke about Diane Carroll, but you came in like Sister Soldier. So I was trying to figure out, your first episode, you was in...
Oh, that's true. Black Lives Matter. Central Park 5.
Right.
Exonerated 5.
What made
brother.
you choose not to just be like a Diane Carroll? Because
Yeah.
she showed up in her blackness as who she was.
Absolutely.
Taking up space, as you
Yeah.
talk about in the book.
Yeah. And one could argue, I think a modern example of that might be like Robin Roberts,
Yes.
right? Who shows up every day on Good Morning America, you know, black and queer,
Yes.
and just is. And it's an option.
Yeah.
It wasn't my
And
ministry.
you came out guns a-blazing.
I came out guns a-blazing. I don't know. How did it look from your perspective?
You know what? I think it can be a little hard. It can be a little, we don't need the Malcolm X speech every minute.
But maybe they do need it.
I think Eboni wants to be bold and in your face. But I don't think it's gonna work. They don't want a pastor and a preacher. They want a friend.
I'm with y'all. I could imagine if I'm a white woman at a particular age in life, and I live in my affluent elite bubble,
Right.
this shit probably is annoying at this point and tiring.
Right.
So I get that. I don't agree, but I get that.
Right.
Now that it's been said, Rashawn, now we can go kiki.
But do you really feel like
I
you can
really,
kiki?
well,
Like,
I
are
mean,
you-
not to say it's not gonna come up again,
Okay.
but I can kiki today.
Okay.
Hey, you know, I want to answer you. I want to answer you really, really vulnerably. So I thought about that. I
Okay.
did. I thought about your name is black as hell anyway, Ebony. You know, like you got a lot of blackness already going for you, sis. You know, you got a black ass name. You know, you are black and aesthetic. And you know, just ride that out.
Right.
It didn't feel sufficient. It just did. It didn't feel. It
Didn't serve the purpose.
It didn't serve the purpose. It wouldn't have met the moment. And let me be real. Let me get a little serious. So let's talk about the moment. I'm hired. George Floyd's body is not even cold in the grave yet, right? Like George Floyd had just been murdered a matter of months before I started filming this. You know, it's 2020 summer. The globe is in a massive call to action when it comes to how America treats black folk. And finally, the world says, we need to look at this shit because it's not good. Then you've got, you know, my casting, I will say, started pre the murder of Brother Floyd because the network have been getting so much shit for having an all-white cast in the most diverse city in America. New York City is 25% Latina, 25% black, and you know, then there's an Asian population. So how is none of that represented in this iconic show? So there was so much expectation from me. And you have to remember, Derek, this is not like, oh, they just plopped me. I'm a day one Rhony viewer. So I felt, you know, and I had sat there and I had watched the years in which Dorinda Medley, and it's not personal to these women, but let's just go through the receipts right quick. I had watched that scene when Dorinda Medley goes into a restaurant on the Upper East Side, and the first black man she sees in a suit, here's my coat, honey, hang it up, thanks. Ma'am, this doesn't work here. This gentleman is a diner. You know, I had watched that scene when Sonia Morgan, who is my friend to this day, but Sonia's sitting in the townhouse garden. Sis, who's a brilliant self-employed entrepreneur, owner, nail tech, is sitting there with her Swarovski crystal nail decorations, and Sonia goes, "Oh, you need to put that up. People gonna think you're my crack dealer." You know. So while Rhony hadn't had a black cast member, Rhony had disrespected blackness.
Right.
Let's be very clear about that. So when I show up in the posture that I show up with my Black Lives Matter, with my Exonerated 5, with my call outs of white fragility, and I'm the most educated, bitch, I got work to do. Because y'all sat up here for 12 years, you know, acting like y'all didn't know what the fuck time it was when it came to blackness and blackness in New York and black women in New York.
Right.
So I'm here to let you know.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I loved it. I wish I could do it again.
Okay, because I was gonna say, but with you going in with your guns ablazing, you was Ramboing it up. Did you think that it was gonna be a second season, or was you just gonna go in and make your point?
I was a one-term president.
Yeah, but
I was a one-term. I was a one-term president.
But did you think?
Yes, Derek.
You thought you were. Did you think you were going to be a one-term president, or did you think I'm going to come back?
I planned to be a one-term president.
Gotcha. That's
what it looked like.
Yeah. Okay.
I planned to be a one-term president because also I've been in the business, right? Like we're in the business. So beyond, yes, I was new to reality TV, but I'm not new to business. You know how many pilots I've done?
Right.
How many pilots you've probably done? That Morella's done. You know how many shows we've done a summer season for that never gets picked up, that doesn't get renewed, that doesn't make it back for whatever the reason. So there were a million variables, Derek, other than how Eboni showed up, as to how that could be my one and done season. So could I have slept at night knowing that I went in and I just, held the space with my Birkin bag and, my Manolo Blahniks and just sat there being a lovely little black sidekick doll amongst this ratchetness? No, it would not have been acceptable to me. And then I would have had to live with the fact that I had the opportunity of a lifetime to change some shit. And I went in there and I did something that I despise and I think is a real low integrity move. I went along to get along. I could not go along to get along. And especially once I saw some of the riffraff I was working with by way of my castmates and production, oh no, it was time to take the trash out.
Right. Okay. So what is one of the things that you take away from that experience? What is when you look back and you're in your apartment by yourself and you're just thinking about that experience, what comes to mind?
When I'm sleeping in my $6,000
yes!
sheets at night, and I'm drinking out of my Baccarat crystal glasses where I drink my water from. Let me tell you what I'm thinking, Derek.
Tell me what you think.
I'm thinking job well done, Black woman.
Yes.
I'm thinking job well done. And I'm thinking the legacy of the season 14 cast is a part of, the work, the labor, the trauma that I endured, to keep it serious for a minute, because it was a lot of trauma to the point where I had to have 2 therapists, one provided by the network because I demanded one, and then the other one out of my pocket. So it was some real stuff I went through, but I would do it over again if it yields this result. If it finally, I got an honorary doctorate, right, from Benedict College, down the street from where we grew up in South Carolina. And on my doctorate, I thought all those honorary doctorates were just like boilerplate. They customize them. So my honorary doctorate is in disruption, and in it says, we are honoring the work you have done by giving you a doctorate of humane letters in the work you do on your podcast, on television, and in radio, that says comfort is not enough, and you will do whatever it takes until something changes. So something changed on Real Housewives of New York. And so that's how I know it gave what it was supposed to give.
Yeah. Okay, and this will be my last thing with this, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know.
This could be a whole book. So,
listen, okay, so you are really become that person that is that Black woman in these spaces.
Yes.
From Fox News.
That's true. To Real Housewives of New York.
To Real Housewives of New York.
To whatever God has next.
To whatever God has next.
Why does this keep happening? I'm going to answer you.
Right. Yeah. How do, it's like you are the person like they send in to tear the shit up.
Yeah. Do you know one of my favorites, I'm an you're so funny. I'm an HGTV fan, right? And one of my favorite shows is Fixer Upper with Chip and Joanna. Have you ever seen that? Okay, so you know how Chip gets so excited for demo day? I'm the demo bitch. Like, I'm the demolition bitch. I come in and I just do the wrecking ball and tear all this shit down, but so that we can what?
Rebuild.
So that we can rebuild with a strong foundation and really see the potential and the beauty of what was possible. Now, why do they keep doing this? Why do they keep inviting me to the dance? I'm a little bit of a Trojan horse, Derek. Meaning, despite what people have now know, like, I'm not hiding. This is in plain sight. They know who I am. They know my academic background. They know my penchant for disruption. They know my ability to take some shit on the chin. I'm not a scared bitch. I ain't no punk ass, And yet, I think it's this. I really do. I think it's my aesthetic.
Yeah.
I think the fact that
pageant
I
girl.
don't. Yes, I think Miss North Carolina
Yes.
USA 2009 first runner up. Or show the fuck up, baby. And listen, when it's time to get dressed, I'm gonna get dressed. Okay.
Always.
And I think
Sergio
that
Hudson down in that yellow
all
outfit
of it,
when you
day
came on
one.
the view. Listen.
Sergio, we gonna give. Balmain Barbie is going to give. Okay. But here's the thing about that aesthetic, and that's why I wrote my first. Yeah, right. But that's why I wrote my first book. Pretty powerful. Appearance, substance, and success. In one's aesthetic can lie. Don't be so foolish as to think aesthetic is fluff or without importance. I mean, I really say this to you and Morel and the other titans of the beauty industry. Y'all hold the tools of power. How things show up aesthetically is of enormous power. So I get invited to, a place that is otherwise hostile to Black folks and Black women, a la Fox News, a la Real Housewives of New York, a la a couple other things that are coming down the pipeline, because I don't look like what I am.
Yeah.
I don't look like Sister Soldier, because you better believe if I had the dreadlocks, if I had about 3 more shades of melanin to my complexion, if I had an even fuller figure, I would not have even been invited to those spaces. Yeah. So that's another reason, actually, right? Going back to why I chose to be so, because I know that if I show up in the posture that reflects my aesthetic, to me, I am benefiting from lighter skin privilege. I am benefiting from white proximate aesthetic, and I am a piece of shit. Because you're benefiting from those structural forms of privilege, Ebony, but you are not paying it forward so that other people who don't participate in that privilege can also benefit.
Come on, Ebony.
So it's moral for me. Yeah.
Okay, I love that.
Yeah.
All right. So so now you have your podcast. You have
The Judge Show.
The Judge
Equal
Show.
Justice, yeah.
Yes. So tell us about the podcast.
So the podcast is, first of all, the favorite thing that I do. I love all the jobs and all the people that give me checks so I can pay these good bills and taxes.
Yes.
But my podcast is my favorite thing, number one, because I own it. Like, I own the intellectual property. I co-own my masters. I own the trademark and branding. So that is something that I revere. And you know how important ownership is to me. We'll get to that in a minute. And it's the thing that I have the most creative control over because I own it. So the podcast came about, Derek, where I said, listen, I'm still paying Sally Mae and the rest of them back for these loans. So I might as well share the fruits of the investment that I've made and continue to make in my legal education with the masses of the culture in a way that will help Black people hopefully be safer in the criminal justice system. And that really, I think, is something that we have done exemplary work in, myself and Dustin Ross, who I co-host the show with. I wanted the show to feel accessible. I feel like a lot of times when you say law or politics even, a lot of people feel shut out of that conversation. A lot of people feel intimidated by that conversation. And one of the things that I do intentionally every episode of Holding Court is bring kind of the sugar to the vegetables. We keep it the commentary, we keep the jokes, we keep, the 4-letter words. We do all of that by design to keep it conversational enough so that you can follow us when we go into the nitty gritty, the minutia of the legalese. A lot of people are out here really for real, dead ass, allocating how they're about to spend this money that they really believe they're about to get from their government. It is a very, very realistic chance that y'all might not get shit. Can't be spending this money yet cause what's about to happen, I can pretty much hang my hat on this. That shit about to be tied up in the courts for a long time.
A long time.
These financial institutions are mad. People that are right at the cusp are mad. The money issue, the bag, if you will. Those issues have to be decided by our Congress. The president, which is the executive branch, literally does not have the political or legal authority to cancel the bag like that. It's beyond scope. So y'all, please sit down, get offline, put that shit back out your cart, stay out the Linux. This is an issue the Democrats have to contend with every election cycle.
Absolutely.
Because it's real. Me and Sally Mae got a long history together. I owed a bitch a lot of money.
Deferment is a real thing.
Fuck these loans.
Yes.
Come along with us so that you can leave this episode entertained, but also informed,
Gotcha.
and well versed in things that next time you get pulled over for a DUI stop, or next time you get pulled over for, or rather, the cops come for a domestic violence call, whatever it is, you are better equipped to navigate that situation.
Okay, and so your judge show, what is the premise? Are you doing divorces? What are you doing?
So it is your good old-fashioned Judge Judy style small claims court. One thing that we don't,
in for a treat.
Yeah, honey. One thing we don't believe in over here is reinventing the wheel. We know what works with this format.
Okay.
Now, what is different and fresh, you might ask, is me. It's yours truly.
Mm-hmm.
So when I sit on that bench, Derek, you're gonna get the same tenor that you get from holding court.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna get the same Eboni K Williams that sits at that table at the View when I get to come as a guest host. You're gonna get the same sister soldier that went into Central Park with the exonerated 5. You know what I mean? And that is going to change the genre, right? Because I don't know that we've ever certainly had a Black woman, and I will be the youngest daytime syndicated judge when I take airways this fall, and that's important too. One of the cases when we did, my sizzle reel for the show involved a non-binary child, and her being discriminated against through her school system. That's a generational thing that you wouldn't have seen 10 years ago. Nobody's talking about small claims courts with non-binary individuals and children, or transgendered individuals.
Yeah, that wasn't Judge Wapner.
Judgment for plaintiff for $2,000.
Honey, it wasn't Judge Wapner. I don't even know if it was Judge Judy. I have to see what she's up to these days. But it's definitely going to be Judge Eboni.
Yeah.
And I'm really excited about that. I'm really proud of it. I have a fantastic team. And the Black ownership thing is important. Byron Allen, who I trust in this genre more than anyone. My team is led by Patricia Wilson, a brilliant Black sister. And we're just about to do this thing at another level. So I'm excited.
All
and
right.
my robe is really cute.
Oh, come on. So you have a fancy robe.
Yes, I've got some lace black sleeves, baby. It's got to give.
Suck it now. I can't wait.
It's got to give.
Okay, so you're also at the Griot. So what
Yes.
is your role over there at the Griot? I know what your role is.
Yeah, but so at the Griot, again, Byron Allen, media owned. Byron purchased the Black news channel out of bankruptcy. And I was like, oh, I know where this is going. When I saw the purchase deal go through, I said, oh, shit. And Byron calls myself and Mark Lamont Hill and says he needs anchors. And so the Griot with Eboni K Williams and the Griot with Mark Lamont Hill were born. My show airs at 6 every single day. It's actually on cable. People are like, where is it? It's on cable. If you have a cable package, look up the Griot. It's also on all the streamers. Welcome to the Griot, a term that's rooted in West African tradition. Griots were a class of people trained to keep our history and tell our stories.
And we are here every day bringing you our stories, from how climate change directly affects the community to the immediate need for social reform.
To the clean water crisis in Jackson, Mississippi, abortion rights, mental health, and celebrity scoops.
Culture, news, and politics. These are stories told in a way that is meaningful and important for everyone. Stories so powerful they create a ripple effect, globally impacting the world we live in now and the future.
See, it's not just enough to deliver the story. I want you to know the facts so you can make your own informed decision. I report common sense commentary and uncover the blind spots in our American justice system.
Everyone needs to be a part of the conversation. It's important that we have thought-provoking, balanced discussions. Whether you agree or disagree, all voices need to be heard.
So join us every day as we share our unique stories. No matter how big or small, for better or worse, they are our moments.
The Griot, stories powered by us.
Watch our shows live every weeknight on the Griot cable. Check your local listings.
So we are easy to find on all the streaming platforms. We've had a little viral moment here recently.
I was going to get to
Go
that.
ahead.
I was easing my
Go
way.
ahead.
Okay,
I'm going to lead you right on to it. Go on. How we can create and not build when some of us, quite frankly, feel that the men that are available to us, and I'm talking about across the color spectrum, across the age spectrum, trust me, I've done them all, they are not positioned to protect nor provide because of some of the statistics we just talked about. They're not earning the incomes. They're not having the resources, and some of them are not even showing up in the leadership.
Would you date a bus driver? Would you date
if he owns the bus? If he owns it. If he owns the bus.
See, that's a problem. That's a problem.
Okay. and I told you this prior, and first of all, I did ask you about even talking about it, because I want everybody to know.
But I already told you, I ain't no punk bitch.
You
so come on.
aren't. But you know what? I don't be trying to do this for clickbait. I just be trying to
I
get
know.
people to be inspired. But I thought it was rather interesting. Your whole
What
situation.
did you think? Because you actually know me enough to be
I
like,
know you
ooh.
enough. Listen, like I said, when I saw you, I said, I understood exactly what you were talking about. Working with professional black women, I get it. That they're like, you don't want to be taking care of no man. My only issue was the nose turn up when you said it. I think it would have went better had you not said, if you go. It was your nose turn up for me. I said, I get what she means, but that right there just did it. And so I think that's what threw people.
I agree with you. I had a lot of friends who've known me a long time, Derek, say, they said, well, sis, we appreciate your messaging about ownership and entrepreneurship and excellence. But damn, it was the way you said it.
Right.
It wasn't what you said, it was the way you said it. And I've had this question. If given the opportunity, would I say it differently?
Yeah.
Hell no. And the reason why is because had I said it differently, had I said, well, Iyanla, no, I don't believe so, we wouldn't be talking about it now.
Yeah.
And the conversations that erupted after that moment and the subsequent sidebar and the Breakfast Club and the this and the that.
All of it.
It's lived.
The View talked about it. It was a hot topic. Yes.
It was a 2-segment hot topic on The View. Sherry Shepherd had a segment about it on her show. Steve Harvey talked about it for a week straight. Ricky Smiley talked about it. The LA Times literally did a whole article around it. And really what became clickbait, what started as clickbait, Derek, then became a conversation around, because I have the DMs to prove it and some of the comments. People said, let me look at my situation. Let me look at the fact that, yes, I do drive poor bus drivers. I love bus drivers. I feel like they got scapegoated so bad in this conversation.
Let me tell you, if people would be like, are y'all tired of talking about bus drivers? Like, you would see that on social media.
Yeah, like, can we stop talking about the bus drivers? Because I know I take the train every day, and I need me an MTA.
You took the train here.
I took the train here. So it's not even about that, right? But what it is about is that your highest skill set? And if it is, then that is excellence.
Right.
But if it's not, what could it look like? So I'll share this with you, Derek. I had a black man DM me and say, listen, sis, I ain't like the way you said that shit at all. However, I get up at 3 o'clock in the morning every day and I do drive a bus, and I actually hate it. I actually hate it. And what you said and the way you said it made me do an inventory on myself and say, if I let go of the stability of this, and he acknowledged a lot of the points that were made, right? He makes over $100,000 a year. He's got a good pension. He's got all these benefits. He says, so he is still there, although he hates it because of the security and the stability. But hearing the dialogues and what I talked about on the Breakfast Club has caused him to reconsider how much is that stability worth versus what it would look like if he challenged himself to ascend to a higher level of his own skill set. Right. And it was a really productive conversation. I had a young man who works in a barber. He was like, well, I don't own the shop. Am I mediocre? I said, let me ask you an honest question, young man, because he was like 27. I said, would you like to own the shop? He said, I ain't gonna hold you, yes. And then we started having a different conversation about what it would look like to lease some commercial space and it's really, really been beautiful, actually, Derek, to watch how people have taken what was, a little shady clickbait moment and really turn it into conversations about expanding Black wealth, partnership.
That's what your book talks about.
That's exactly what it talks about.
And let's point out that the book was written way before, so this is already your whole thought pattern and everything.
This is my MO.
About making sure that we establish Black wealth as a people, because all we know is getting enough money to make a living. We don't know about
And that was often the narrative. My mother is a Black business owner. I talk about that in the book. She was a former bus driver, yes, and she drove a bus until she obtained a higher skill set. And then she went to cosmetology school, and that's a skill set. And then she owned a salon. And then when she advanced past that skill set, she went on to own trucks. So that's when I say a bus owner, I wasn't trying to be an asshole. I mean that as the legacy of a woman who owned transportation and trucking vehicles. So I know what it is. So I will say that, there was one more point I wanted to make about, ownership. And that's not about what do you call it? The drip. The ownership is not about the drip, Derek. The ownership is about liberation. Because what I know for sure is this: when you have assets, when you have a home that you own, even if it's mortgage, you can go take out an equity line of credit and put your kid into college or secondary school. You can take out that equity line of credit and open your business or save your business during, I don't know, a global pandemic. There is something very valuable in having currency, money, dollars, economic freedom in this country. You know, as taboo as that has become, I know everybody wants to pretend like we live in a socialist society where everybody's treated the same and it's all equal. We do not. You might need to go to Russia or China. But right here in America, this is a capitalistic society in which money equates power and oftentimes freedom and safety. And I want our people to be, especially as we celebrate Pride as we record this, as my friend Andrew McCaskill says, I want our people to be out, proud, and paid.
Come on, paid.
That's it.
That's what's up.
One time for paid. Okay.
Okay. Oh my God, Ebony, that was really good. That was a great breakdown.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm glad we got to talk about it.
Me too.
Because I didn't want to break it up.
No, but you know,
But
I
I was
thought
glad
here's what I'll say about that. I respect you're such a gentleman. You really are, Derek. You're such a Southern
Even
gentleman.
when I text you, I said, we ain't even got to talk about bus drivers.
Full disclosure, y'all. He was like, I'm not trying to capitalize on that. I really want to talk about you and your story. But first of all, I think that would be low integrity for me to come here in this capacity as a guest on your platform, and people are going to click with an expectation and run away from a topic that I help facilitate.
Right.
That's just a low integrity move, and I ain't no punk bitch. So, you know, that's number one. And number two, I trust you, right? Like I trust you as somebody who I've only seen as a man of integrity, so I knew that we could responsibly talk about it in a way that's going to be productive.
Gotcha.
And you handled it great.
Oh, thank you. I'm trying. I'm on my come up.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, Ebony. Is there something else we should be on the lookout for that I have not covered?
No, because I don't talk about my man, money, or next project.
Listen, and there you have it.
Yeah.
And that's how you stay out of trouble and all the mess.
And keep on ascending.
And keep on ascending.
Well, congratulations, Derek. I love this platform. I love what you're doing. I love that you have so much that you already do in the public eye, but you're smart enough to further leverage your relationships and your positioning, and that is a Bet on Black move.
Oh, thank you. Listen. And you tied it into the book.
Always.
I love it. Thank you so much,
Thanks,
Ebony.
Derek.
Listen, where can we find you?
Yes, find me. Auntie E is available on Instagram at Ebony, Eboni K Williams. Please, y'all, for real, get this book. Amazon,
Please get the book.
Wherever you get your books, Black-owned bookstore preference, but it also works on Amazon. And the Audible, the Audible book. I actually read the whole entire book, so people love that.
And you do it very well, too.
Thank you, baby. Yeah, so get the book, listen to Holden Court. It drops every Wednesday wherever you get your podcast, and see you soon.
All right. Thank you so much.
Behind the scenes beauty.